Hey, this is Chris with Hacking Your Leadership. On today's discussion on employee engagement, I want to talk about the importance of making sure that people who want to move up within an organization feel like they can. And in a lot of organizations, that's harder to do because of the number of spots that are available or how quickly things move. And it can make some employees get dejected about this process. And some of them go as far as leaving organizations because they feel like there isn't a path. There are a lot of things that leaders can do to kind of reimagine traditional leadership hierarchies because they want to help employees grow, help be more flexible or collaborative in the business. There are a lot of benefits to doing things like this, but the biggest one is what it does for the employee experience and the engagement of people who genuinely want to promote and move up within an organization. And you may not have as much control over, how quickly that can happen because of the spots available or the budget or the, people, getting promoted and leaving roles. It can happen at varying speeds depending on the organization you're at.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think in the context of thinking about career progression and opportunities, a lot of times what I see is we get stuck with thinking about how certain roles have to hold on to certain authority in decision making or strategy building, and we say like, oh well, now that you're a manager, now you're more responsible for executing strategies, or now that you're this and you're leading other managers, now you're responsible for building the strategies. And like we tie these types of tasks and responsibilities to a title versus maybe the person versus maybe being creative in how we get all of that work done. There's absolutely a level of responsibility that moves with people as you move in your career progression for titles. So like you now have this job, here's the responsibilities of this job, and you need to do these things. It doesn't mean that only you have to do all of these things, and it doesn't mean that you don't have to bring others along or create spaces of collaboration when it comes to some of these things that you're working on. So I think that a part of it, when you are reimagining kind of the different hierarchies of leadership, a big chunk of that is where can we involve others for both their ideas, their insights, but also to provide them with, opportunities to learn and exposure and experience and these types of things. Like, where do those spaces exist? Where are those decisions where they have to be made by the person who has that responsibility in the role? And where can these decisions be made maybe more collectively? And even if that person has to make the decision, how can that person create a space where they can, collaborate and open up some of that decision to others before they make it? So I think that a lot of that has to be done, for to reimagine some of the more traditional things that have always happened over the years. We've got to get better at knowing that maybe the leader has the responsibility and the ownership of the decision, but getting to that decision, who they include, how they create space for it, how they provide others the opportunity to ideate in those spaces, I think is going to be critical.
Yeah, I think you're spot on with that. A leader can absolutely be ultimately the person who is accountable to a specific outcome or a process or the execution of a strategy, while still delegating the work itself to other people in a way that that makes them a part of the leadership hierarchy, even if it's just temporary or for a project or a role, without it being a permanent thing. As long as the person knows what's going on and they understand the score when it comes to what their role is. Sometimes it can be the only way to let a person have the experience they need to be able to find out if they want to move into a leadership role or, what they want their, future with the organization to be. So I want to go over a few things that leaders can do to do this the right way, without promising too much to an employee that they don't have the ability to follow up on. Also, without making it seem like it's window dressing and that what they're doing actually, has positive outcomes from a standpoint of career growth and development. But first, I want to get up towards one of our sponsors. All right, if you're a leader of people and you're trying to figure out the right way to give people the experience and the work that they need in order to ensure that they have what it takes to continue to move up within the organization, even if there isn't necessarily a spot available right now, it's important to keep in mind two things when it comes to the work that you're choosing. One, you need to level set with the employee on what their goals are, so that when you are assigning work or delegating work that might be outside their normal scope, that work will help bring the learnings and the experience and the skills that they would need to go into that next step or that next role that they want to do. It does no help for the employee at all if the things you're delegating are not related to what that next step is that they want in their career. If this is what they've kind of raised their hand and say, I want to move up, giving them kind of busy work is not development. That's just kind of putting things off of your plate onto theirs. And then the second thing is you have to make sure that when the employee is doing this role, even if it's temporary, that the employee truly feels like they are in this role. So if it's a mentorship spot, or if it's a temporary position on the leadership team to kind of grow and develop, it can't be kind of leadership light. It can't be, okay, well, they're a member of the leadership team, but we're not going to do these things or these things with them. They can be involved in this thing, but not that thing. It's like, no. If you want them to truly take the most out of it, they need to feel the weight of that position on their shoulders. And they won't feel the weight of that position on their shoulders if they don't feel like they're being treated as that role at every turn. That's the only way to truly prepare them for that role if they want to go into it eventually. And it's the only way to make them not kind of feel patronized or like that you're kind of throwing a bone to them for the moment because you want them to stop complaining about trying to get promoted. No, you truly believe this is something they could do if they wanted to. They want to do it. Now let's see if the skills are there or if the skills need to be developed before a permanent role can be kind of offered.
Yeah, I love that you kind of talk through about like the totality of whether it's the delegation or the empowerment to someone. Like if you're going to do something that's created for somebody to have an experience and to actually feel, to your point, the weight of the responsibility, they have to have that. You can't just say, I'm gonna ask you to make these decisions, Chris. Like you're in charge of making a decision here. Also, if it goes bad, don't worry about it. If it goes good, I'll take all the credit. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not how this is going to work, right?
No.
You've got to feel the weight of that if you're truly going to create a space that's about like learning and development and providing something that is breaking the hierarchy of what's typically there. It has to be done with intention, and it has to be done kind of like all in on whatever that's going to be, as much as you can within the control. There are going to be things that as a leader only you can do,
Sure.
and decisions that only you can make. But there is a lot of space to play typically in getting to that point, and that's where you can bring people along and start to give some of that authority away from a decision-making standpoint, and that provides the opportunity for people to build their own confidence in the decisions they're making and preparing them for what's next as they elevate their own career.
Right. And the last thing I'll say about this, I think it's important, is it will come with failures. Meaning, I don't mean the person as a whole fails. I mean, the person will have individual failures based on decisions they make or interactions they have or relationships that need to improve that they didn't improve on. Those little failures are necessary for a person to feel the weight of the position. The weight of the position isn't felt through the good times. It's not felt through the, I have the authority and I can tell you what to do and I'm doing these projects and I feel like I'm, unleashing myself to, go to that next level. That's not where the weight of the position is felt. The weight is felt in making decisions that have real implications on relationships with people and how you navigate those decisions in a way that shows what your values are and that maintains the relationship without sacrificing your values. That's what the leadership opportunity is for that person. And so it will come with failures if they've ever been in a role like that before. And it's important to allow them to have those failures so that they can fix them on their own and on their own terms. If you're not doing that, then they're going to feel like there's a big safety net underneath them and they won't get as much out of the position. Thank you all for joining us in this episode about employee engagement. We'll see you next Thursday for the next one. You have a great day.